morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So, can we start our today's program?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay. So, you all are eager. Most of my students have seen Vani sir. Am I right?
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
So, he is not a guest to us. Correct? No?
Yes,
Most
ma'am.
of
yes,
them have seen him. Most of them have encountered with him, interacted with him. So, he's not a guest, I should say. Yes? So, can I request Shobha madam to start today's program with the introduction of Vani sir?
yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Professor Shobha Shevale, welcome you on behalf of Seva Mandal Education Society, Srimati Kamlaben Gambhirchand Shah Law School. We all here, we all have gathered here for today's webinar on role of District Legal Services Authority and guidance regarding JMFC exam, organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell and Mumbai District Legal Services Authority. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome today's key speaker, Honorable Shri Hitendra Vani sir. Sir, we are privileged to have guidance from you. I would like to introduce Sir. Sir is Civil Judge, Senior Division and Additional Chief Judicial Magistrate. Sir has joined judiciary in the year 2009. He is now serving as a Secretary, District Legal Services Authority, Mumbai. About Sir's alma mater, Sir has completed his education at Durgabai Raghuvamshi High School, Nandurbar, Patil College at Nandurbar, and Law College of Nandurbar. Now, as we all are aware that Sir is doing tremendous work and activities during 2nd October to 14th November under Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, under NALSA, which is an initiative of Government of India to celebrate and commemorate 75 years of progressive India. I would like to share the latest achievement, that is highest settlement in the last 5 years about Lok Adalat. In the month of August, close to 19,000 cases were disposed of at the National Lok Adalat. And as said by Sir, the total settlement amount was more than 504 crores, and 836 out of 11,651 litigations were disposed of through online mode. And this was a record in the history of Lok Adalat, and proceedings were attended from USA too. Due to pre-counseling sessions, many matters got amicably settled before the online Lok Adalat, and it will bring around 37 crore rupees revenue for central government. Hats off to entire judiciary, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out of your too much busy schedule. Over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir, you're audible.
Uh, Thank you, Shobha Shevale ma'am. First of all, I would like to say the sorry for keep you waiting since more than 30 minutes, I guess. I'll start with our session. The first and foremost thing that we will start with the history of the legal aid as to from where the journey of legal aid started. That is, in the year 1976, Honorable Justice P.N. Bhagwati sir has formed a committee by name Legal Aid Committee, and through that, Honorable Justice P.N. Bhagwati started thinking over for evolving any kind of scheme or system so that a marginalized and privileged section of the society would not be get deprived from their rights or from getting justice from the court. So eventually thereafter, Honorable Justice Krishna Iyer also joined to that committee, and in the year 1977, another committee was formed under the chairmanship of Honorable Justice Krishna Iyer, former judge of the Supreme Court of India, and thereafter Iyer committee report came into picture, and on the basis of that Iyer committee report, amendment was carried out in the Constitution of India, and by that mode, Article 39A of the is got introduced or included in the Constitution of India, and it cast a duty on the state or the government to prepare a mechanism or to provide a scheme for granting the legal aid or getting access to justice in a very easy manner, and to prepare a law which will be helpful for the marginalized and weaker section of the society for getting their rights and to approach the court. So accordingly, to fulfill the obligation of Article 39A of the Constitution of India, law was carved out or passed in the Lok Sabha, that is the National Legal Services Authorities Act in the year 1987, which came into effect in the year 1995. So after coming into effect of this Legal Services Authorities Act, a four stages system was created, that is at the national level, National Legal Services Authority is formed. Secondly, at the state level, State Legal Services Authority is formed. Thirdly, at the district level, District Legal Services Authority is formed. And at the Taluka level, Taluka Legal Services Committee is formed. So all these committees and the authorities are headed by judicial officers. At the national level, National Legal Services Authority, the executive chairman of this National Legal Services Authority is Honorable Justice U.U. Lalit, executive chairman, and patron in chief is our Justice C.V. Ramanna, who is the Chief Justice of India. And under the guardianship of Honorable Justice U.U. Lalit, all the other authorities are now functioning. At this moment, the Honorable Justice U.U. Lalit is the Executive Chairman of the National Legal Services Authority. He forms the policies and other things for the smooth functioning of the legal aid and the other matters connected therewith. Secondly, at the state level, State Legal Services Committee is there. In Maharashtra, Maharashtra State Legal Services Committee is there, and Honorable Justice A.A. Sayyar is the Executive Chairman of this Maharashtra State Legal Services Committee, and a judicial officer of the rank of Principal District and Sessions Judge is the Member Secretary of this authority. Right now, Honorable Shri Dinesh Surana Sir, who is the Principal District, who is of the cadre of Principal District and Sessions Judge, is the Member Secretary of this Maharashtra State Legal Services Authority. Secondly, at all the district, there is a District Legal Services Authority is there. Especially in Mumbai, there are two District Legal Services Authorities. Firstly, it is for the Mumbai city, and secondly, it is for the Mumbai suburban. So we are privileged to have the two District Legal Services Authority. For the Mumbai city, Honorable Principal Judge Srinivas Agrawal sir is the who is the Principal Judge of the City Civil and Sessions Court, is the Chairman of the Mumbai District Legal Services Authority, and the Principal Judge of the Family Court is the Chairman of the Mumbai Suburban District Legal Services Authority, and the officer of the rank of Civil Judge Senior Division and Additional Chief Judicial Magistrate is the Secretary of this District Legal Services Authority. So there are two judicial officers in Mumbai who are working as the secretary of the District Legal Services Authority. Out of them, I am working for the Mumbai city, and Hivai sir is working for the Mumbai Suburban District Legal Services Authority. Secondly, in Mumbai, there are only in the suburban area there are 3 talukas, but unfortunately, Taluka Legal Services Committee is not there, because District Legal Services Authority is there and it is functioning in a very excellent manner for the suburban area. So it is not required and it is not implicated in this Legal Services Authorities Act. So it is not formed. But in all the talukas except the Mumbai district, talukas of the Mumbai district, there are legal services authority at each taluka level. So, because the motto or the main thing of the legal services authority is the access to justice for all. So we work with the motto access to justice for all, which means each and every person should have some access to get the easy access to justice, and he should get the equal opportunity to get the justice. This is the motto of all the legal services authorities, and to fulfill this motto or fulfill this object, taluka legal services committees are functioning at the taluka level, and principal judge of that particular taluka is working as the chairman of that taluka legal services committee. So this is all about the formation of the taluka legal services committee and the other legal services authorities. Now we will see as to what are the key functions of these legal services authorities. The first and foremost function of these legal services authorities and committees is to provide the free legal aid. The first function is provide the free legal aid to the marginalized and weaker section of the society. We will see as to who will fall in this category or who are entitled to get the free legal services facility later on. Now, firstly, we will understand what are the key functions of this legal services authority. The first function is to provide the free legal aid. Secondly, the second important function which is performed by the legal services authority is to spread the legal awareness or to make the people aware about their rights and the beneficial schemes and the beneficial legislations made by our Sansad and other government schemes which are there prepared by the state government as well as the central government. So this is to spread the legal awareness or to create the legal awareness amongst the weaker and the marginalized section of the society. This is the another important function of the legal services authority. Third important function is to organize the Lok Adalat. You might be hearing that every year there are 4 to 5 Lok Adalats are there. Now generally we are holding 4 Lok Adalat at each year in each year. So generally in the March or April there is first Lok Adalat. Then in the July August there will be a second Lok Adalat. Then in the September and at the end in the month of December there is the 4 Lok Adalat. Now in the coming 11th December there will be the 4th Lok Adalat which will be held all over India, not all over in Maharashtra or Mumbai, all over India. It will be the national Lok Adalat. We will call it as a national Lok Adalat. So the important function is to organize the Lok Adalat at each in each court. Fourth important function is the implementation of the victim compensation scheme. So in Maharashtra there are 2 victim compensation scheme. One is formulated by our state government, that is Victim Compensation Scheme 2014. Which is formed in accordance with the provision of section 357 of Code of Criminal Procedure, and another scheme which is formed by the Maharashtra government itself. It is the Manodhairya scheme, which is specially meant for the victims of the rape offences and the POCSO offences. So the fourth important function is to implement the victim compensation scheme. Another scheme is also there for victim compensation, that is the which is prepared by the NALSA, but unfortunately due to some difficulties or due to some lack of funds, it is right now it is not functioning or it is not in effect. So this is, but sooner or later it will also come into picture, which will supersede all the difficulties or all the grey areas of the other schemes. So these are the 4 important key functions. Now we will see who is entitled for the free legal aid. Firstly, the woman who is entitled for the free legal aid. Irrespective of the income, each woman is entitled for the free legal aid. Then children is also entitled for the free legal aid. Then thirdly, the accused who is lodged in the jail is also entitled for the free legal aid. Then fourthly, the defend person is also entitled for the free legal aid. Then the persons of the SC and ST community is also entitled for the free legal aid. Then the disaster victim, it may be a man-made or natural disaster. Victim of the man-made or natural disaster is also entitled for the free legal aid. Then industrial workman is also entitled for the free legal aid. And lastly, the senior citizen is also entitled for the free legal aid. And lastly, the person whose income is below rupees 3 lakh is also entitled for the free legal aid. So these are the categories who are entitled for the free legal aid. So we will understand as to what is meant by the free legal aid. So the person who fall in these categories which I already enumerated, he can seek the legal advice from the lawyers who are on the panel of our legal aid panel, as well as he can also get the assistance of the panel advocate. It means the panel advocate will defend the case, as well as he will also file the case on behalf of that person in the court. So that legal aid advocate will fight the case for the person who are falling in these categories. So this is the main and important function by which the person weaker or marginalized section of the society can have the easy access to justice, or they can get their rights through the court. Secondly, the Lok Adalat. Which kind of matters can be kept in the Lok Adalat? That we will see that all kind of civil matters can be kept in the Lok Adalat, as well as all kind of criminal compoundable matter. The list of the criminal compoundable matter is given in the section 320 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. So all kind of criminal compoundable matters can be kept in the Lok Adalat. So this is about the Lok Adalat. And the important feature of this Lok Adalat decree or the award passed in the Lok Adalat is that it cannot be challenged in any court. We are knowing that if any judgment is passed by a trial court, then it can be challenged in the appellate court, then it goes to the High Court in the second appeal, then there is a provision for the special leave petition before the Honorable Apex Court. So in this manner, by way of traditional way, it is time consuming. Getting justice is due to this method is the time consuming. But in the Lok Adalat, if the settlement is occurred with the consent of both the parties, then award is get prepared, and that award is finalized for or binding on both the parties, and it cannot be challenged in any court of law except for the reason of it is obtained by way of fraud or force. These are two grounds, but they are generally not, because at the time of passing the award, it is verified that both the parties are not under coercion or any other difficulties, and the voluntariness of both the parties is already verified, and thereafter award is passed. So that possibility is very, very, very rare, and therefore it is binding on both the parties. And another feature is that both the if the plaintiff has filed a suit in the court and along with that he has deposited any kind of court fees, then if that matter gets settled in the Lok Adalat, then that particular party will get all his court fees refunded. Each file is get refunded if the matter is get settled in the Lok Adalat. So this is the important thing about the Lok Adalat. So this is all about the role of the Lok Adalat. Just now in the, I think last 2-3 months ago, we have opened a legal aid clinic in our school, in our law college. So I request you all to give visit to our legal aid clinic and to provide the legal assistance and the necessary information to the needy, weaker and marginalized sections of the society to spread the awareness. I'll thank our Shelar ma'am, all our faculty members and the students for remarkable work during this 45 days Pan India Awareness and Outreach Program. So it is a very nice work done by our Shelar ma'am and all you. So I congratulate all for this remarkable and wonderful work and for supporting this national cause, that is to spread the awareness about the law. Now we will turn towards the exam of the subject, which is the second subject, that is the judicial services examination, or for preparing the JMFC examination. I guess all the students are from the 3-year LLB, no, ma'am?
3 years and 5 years.
3 years and 5 years, both are there. So you might be aware about the who are eligible for the examination. That is, the if you are a fresher, then you must be you can eligible for the exam JMFC examination if you are below the age of 25 years and he has passed the 3 years course without any ATKT. So this is the first and foremost criteria. And if you cross the age of 25 years, then there is a ATKT in passing the our 3 years course or 5 years course, then you must have the practicing experience of the 3 years. So this is the eligibility criteria. Now we will see as to how we can prepare for this judicial examination or examination of the JMFC. So there are 3 stages of this examination. First is the preliminary stage. This is preliminary examination. Second is the main exam, and third is the interview. For the purpose of prelims, my advice to all of you is to focus on understanding the legal concepts and to read the Bare Acts. Because if we read the Bare Act now, then we will understand, we have to read it from the section 1 to the last section. And if we fail to read it from the section 1 to last section, now we are unable to correlate all the provisions or the provisions of one act to another act. So focusing on the Bare Act is first and foremost thing and the important thing for passing the JMFC examination. If you go through all the question papers regarding the JMFC examination, you will come to know that barring 3 to 4 questions, all the questions are from the Bare Act itself. Some confusing questions are there or from jumbling questions are there, but that you can answer very easily if you have understood the concept with the aid of the Bare Acts. For understanding the concept, you can take the help of our faculty members as well as the commentary books. But once you understand the legal concept with the help of our faculty members or the commentary book, you must focus on the Bare Act. So for passing the preliminary examination, if you focus on the Bare Act, then it would be a very easy task for clearing the JMFC examination. So this is for the clearing the preliminary JMFC examination. Then it comes for the mains examination. We have to understand that preliminary examination is for the filtering of the candidates. So if you pass the preliminary examination now, then it is for you to go into detail of all the legal concept, because you have to write the paper in narrative, and that too from the examination point of view. If you understand the concept and you write the paper point wise now, then it would be a very easy task for the examiner or for the person who is taking the paper to know that write down the full paper. This is the important thing for passing the mains examination. And when it comes for the interview now, then they will your knowledge is already get tested by the preliminary examination as well as the mains examination. They will only judge your confidence as well as to whether you have grasped or whether you have really understood the concept or not. So for that purpose, you must concentrate on the origin of the legal concept as well as what the actual legal concept is, as to from where it came. If you are studying, for suppose that you are studying the law of limitation, as to from where it started, then what are the laws relating to limitation, what are the provisions are there in the CPC as well as the CRPC, as well as what is there in the Limitation Act, what things are excluded, what things can be included. So you have to study the subject thoroughly, and if you study the subject thoroughly now, then only we can pass the interview. So, and I suppose or I believe that there is no other easy exam than the JMFC exam. Because if you see the exam of the IS cadre or the other civil services examination, you the subject is too vast, because the general knowledge subject is there, GK subject is there, so that syllabus is too vast, and other subjects are also there. But in case of JMFC examination, only 8 to 9 subjects are there. That too, law only, they are related to law, that certain, that CPC, CRPC, evidence, IPC, then Limitation Act is there, then Maharashtra Rent Control Act is there, Partnership, Sale of Good, Contract Act. All these acts are there, all are easy acts. If you understood the concept, then all are easy. And other than these acts, there is no other thing which you are required to study. Some maxims are there. If we study the law, then automatically we are going to study the maxims also. So don't bother that they are asking about the maxims and the landmark judgments. But when you thoroughly understood the subject and thoroughly go through all the acts and related information, then automatically you will come to know about the legal maxims, which are the important legal maxims we should know at the time of examination, and the landmark judgment as well as. And the another important thing is that we should keep on constantly revising the subject. At least each subject should be revised thrice. So if we revise it continuously now, then we can memorize it very in a very nice manner, and it will go on for years together, and you can also understood the subject in a very proper manner. So this is all about the judicial service examination, for cracking the judicial service examination. And I say you all the best for the coming judicial services examination if you are going to attempt it. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. If you are having any kind of questions, you may please ask this here.
Please raise the questions if you have any. You can put it in the chat box.
Good morning, sir. I am Rajesh Kardak. May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, is there any upper limit of age for JMFC, sir?
Yes, it is there. I think it is 35 for the general quota, and for the reserve category it is 40. But I'm not sure about it. Generally, it is same what I said. You may go through the advertisement, the recent advertisement. Will definitely help.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So one more question. How many times they are held in a year, JMFC? Once in a year?
Once in a year.
Once. And tentative when it is?
That schedule is get prepared by the our MPSC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is once in a year.
Yeah.
But the most important, as you said, that clearing law papers without etiquette is the first criteria.
Yes.
So girls, you have to prepare in that way. Got it? The first criteria itself, sir mentioned very clearly that clearing all your semesters without etiquette is a primost factor for appearing for your JMFC. Okay, and secondly, not using unauthorized textbook, because from the beginning he clearly mentioned that use of barracks is very, very important. So one should know to learn from barracks. One should learn to revise the barracks. That is most important, which most of the students do not do so. Most of the students, they refer to guide, so that has to be scrubbed. Then only you are able to get not into JMFC, but also for the practice. Very important. So please learn how to get through your, the barracks and all. And there is a trick also to learn the barracks. Please try to understand those tricks. The people who are practicing, the people who are teaching you the subjects like CRPC, IPC, ask them how to read the barracks. There is a technique also to read the barracks. Any other questions?
Just for the information, I am sharing with you here that I passed this JMFC examination only with the help of barracks. I have not used any kind of other books which are available in the market. the guidebooks and just like ma'am said. Even thereafter also one promotional exam was there. It was arranged for the first time for the 10% quota through the merit cum seniority. That exam was also cleared by me only with the help of Merit. Initially, there was competition amongst the advocates and law students for the first exam, but for the second exam, there was competition among the judges. So that exam was also cleared with the help of Merit, and I would like to gladly share that I was second in that exam. So I just want to assure that don't think that other person is referring the guide and other things. So we may lag behind, or we may be behind him if we don't refer the guidebooks which are available in the market. Or don't go for the question answers which are given in that guidebook. Just refer the question papers which are available on the internet about the previous examinations, and by that manner only start your preparation. You will definitely clear that exam.
Any other queries? Are there any queries? No questions? I think he has covered up
Sir,
all the...
already if that some judgment is given, and if the person again comes for the legal aid for mutual settlement, then if you entertain them.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Already the decree is been passed, okay, in your legal aid. And if the person wants to go for appeal, is it possible?
Yeah, of course. Legal aid is available at all stages. You might have heard that Ajmal Amir Kasab's case. Legal Services Authority has provided not 1, 2, or 3 legal aid advocates to him. It is only for the reason that justice should not only be done, it must be seen to be done. This was very much applauded by all over the world.
Even if some degree has been passed, also we can come for the legal aid for mutual settlement.
Even if the decree is passed, then also we can advise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Any other queries? May I request Deepali Khawde madam to propose vote of thanks for today's guest?
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I, Assistant Professor Deepali Khawde, on behalf of Seva Mandal Education Society's Srimati Kamlaben Gambhirchand Shah Law School, I am here to present vote of thanks to our honorable guest, Shri Jitendra Vani sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge and enlightening our students on the role of District Legal Service Authority and guidance regarding JMFC. It was indeed an exhaustive and thorough insight shared by you on various facets and dynamic role of judiciary. Thank you, sir, for giving your most valuable time from your busy schedule. And I'm sure your guidance would definitely help our students to grow and shape their career in future. I also thank our management for their constant support and endeavor. I also thank our principal, ma'am, Mrs. Rakhi Gadve, ma'am, and Vice Principal, sir, Mr. Rajesh Kardak, sir, and teaching and non-teaching staff, and all my students for participating in today's webinar and making it worth learning experience for all of us. Thank you all.
Thank you, my dear students. Can we wind up for the day? Thank you so much.